Welcome once again, our dear listeners. This is Alpha TV in Rwanda. My name is Alpha Nibigira. An idea in Kinyarwanda neither unless to avail IDs ahead of elections. The National Identification Agency NIDA and the Ministry of Local Government Minaloke may have to come up with innovative measures to ensure that people who are yet to get their national ID cards get them ahead of the elections so that they practice their civic right. Speaking during a meeting aimed at discussing the preparedness for the upcoming presidential and the parliamentary elections that will be held on July 14th up to 5th, 50 July at the Odaga Sinzigwa, the chairperson of NEC, said the high institution has been working with the NIDA and the Minaloke to ensure that all residents get IDs in time. As she urged that they may need to think about newer ways of making sure everyone gets their ID in time. In general, she urged that the local governments come up with strategies even in other areas to make sure that the elections are smooth. For instance, she inquired about if electricity is available at all the election points, since some counting may take place at night. In general, she emphasized the importance of local governments devising strategies to ensure smooth elections in various areas. For example, she asked about the availability of electricity at all polling stations as some vote counting may need to occur in the evening. Officials assured that every cell office has electricity and stated that the city has approximately 1,089,167 registered voters. However, they are updating the voter list to account for factors such as migration. In Uganda, roadblocks are back ahead of census. The Uganda Bureau of Statistics (UBOS) has announced that it will, with the support of security agencies, establish roadblocks on highways from midnight tonight for mandatory counting of people in transit. During the press briefing yesterday in Kampala, Dr. Chris Mukiza, the executive director, said the checkpoints to be mounted on major roads across the country target the floating population. And such as street children, bus and truck drivers and passengers and those who stay in trenches. The revelation comes hours before the 2024 National Housing and Population Census gets underway tonight. He said, we are going to count them at night and we are going to stage roadblocks tomorrow night on the main roads, exciting cities and towns, so that we count them in those in transit. The deployment of sentries on highways is a matter of political and security sensitivity. In October 2022, President Museveni issued the orders for the removal of roadblocks, citing inconvenience to the public. President Museveni said the state operatives should employ intelligence-led operations to apprehend the suspected outlaws. And likening the approach to extracting a pin from a high stack existing checkpoints on major routes primarily that target traffic violators, individuals of interest to taxi authorities, and those involved in transporting animals. The government returned the roadblocks manned by the army and police at the height of COVID-19 pandemic to enforce compliance with the lockdown rules. Mr. Mukiza, however, yesterday said the centuries early returning and individuals counted at checkpoint will be issued cards which they can show enumerators so that they are not recounted. Several questions, however, remain unanswered, including concerns about disruption of traffic and the list of travelers held up for census at roadblocks, missing flights or appointments, and likely delay in delivering medical emergency cases to hospitals. Nonetheless, Dr. Mukiza tasked the Ugandans and the foreigners in the country, including refugees, to cooperate with and volunteer factual information to enumerators. Those that oppose or sabotage the exercise or render false information would be candidates for prosecution. He said the although the statistics entirety would rather it did not have to invoke the law to enforce compliance. Ugandans who resist or sabotage the national housing and population census face up to 6 months in jail or 600,000 shillings fine, officials warned him. Section 29 of the Uganda Bureau of Statistics UBOS Act 1998 provides that any person who hinders an unauthorized officer, in this case enumerators and other UBOS officials, from performing lawful duties, refuses to provide the required information or makes false declaration, committee an offense. And the MPs, member of parliament, summon border loan farms over theft repossession of bike in Kenya. Parliament has summoned the 5 farms that sell motorcycles to border operators on credit after it emerged that they charged up to 5,771,000 for each bike. The National Assembly's Finance and National Planning Committee says it will also question officials from the National Transport Safety Authority (NTSA) and the Insurance Regulatory Authority (IRA). over the repossession of motorcycles whose owners were almost clearing their loans or had just started the repayment scheme. The committee wants Watu Credit Limited, Mogo Motorcycles in Kenya, Jolnike Group, 15 minutes and my border to appeal before it next week. The NTSA will be required to shed light on the ownership status of the motorcycles and how the logbooks change the hands, while IRA will explain insurance compensation processes. The committee that is chaired by Molo MPs Kuria Kimani is inquiring into a public petition filed by Kigumo Member Parliament Joseph Munyoro on behalf of the border operators. The member of parliaments were shocked by the stories told by motorcycles owners of the theft or possession of their properties. One of them narrated how his motorcycles was stolen after paying 178,000 shillings to Watu Credit Limited. He said the firm demanded a further 121,000 shillings for replacement of the stolen motorcycle, and later said he had an outstanding balance of 178,000 Ugandan shillings, bringing the total cost 571,000 Uganda shillings. Mr. Gideon Ngeno, who granted a loan for a relative at 15 minutes limited, recounted how the motorcycle was repossessed after the owner decided to travel up country with his wife and child. He said the family member whom he identified as Mr. Kevin Lotichi was intercepted at Zambezi area. The machine confiscated and the family left stranded on the road, and Mr. Sambai said they were not informed that the motorcycle had been limited to operate within Nairobi and not be ridden beyond Kikuyu, Thika and Kitengela towns. All those are the places are not used in that country. Mr. John Toto, an operator from Kajiado Central Sub-County, who bought a bike from Mogo Motorcycles, said the company withheld his logbook even after he had repaid the loan in full. The motorcycle was later stolen outside his house. In Tanzania, civil servants off to India for project and risk management training for public works. In the Dar es Salaam city, a special capacity development program exclusively for a batch of 39 Tanzanian public servants is taking place at the National Center for Good Governance in Musoli, India, under the Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation ITC program. The Indian High Commission hosted the participating officers for a pre-departure orientation on May 3, 2024, during which the initiative was highlighted as a significant step towards the empowerment of civil servants for national development. The Assistant Director in the Presidency Office in Public Service Management and Good Governance, Mrs. Judith Shaw, led the Tanzanian officers during the event. She expressed the appreciation to the government of India for providing this opportunity and affirmed that this is a reflection of the close and the friendly ties between India and Tanzania. Mrs. Shu lauded the commitment, efforts, and investment made by the government of India, ensuring that Tanzanian officials remain abreast of global technological advancement and knowledge. Charged Affairs of India Manoj Verma highlighted that the tailor-made course on project and risk management for public works will be crucial as the country rolls out several construction projects. The causes of the benefits of President Samia Suluhu Hassan recent state visit to India of elevated bilateral relations between the two nations to strategic partnership. She urged the chosen civil servants to make full use of the opportunity and return with new insights and ideas, thereby enabling them to better perform their duties and responsibilities in their respective departments. The ITC program is the flagship program of the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, serving as a premier capacity building platform since its inception in 1964. With a legacy of training over 200,000 officials from more than 160 countries, both in the civilian and defense sectors, ITC remains a beacon of international capacity development partnerships. Building on India's vast and rich network of governance and development-related expertise available in higher educational institutions and training facilities, and the ITC offers fully funded training opportunities through nearly 400 courses offered to over 100 institutes in India. India also responds to country-specific requests for training in specific areas of governance by organizing customized training programs that are designed and delivered by the leading institutions in India. Over 60,000 Tanzanians have been trained in India under the ITC program. India remains actively involved in empowering countries like Tanzania to achieve their developmental goals by proactively supporting capacity building initiative for its public servants. In Tanzania again, in Morogoro Road, due to flooding. In Dar es Salaam, Rapid Transit Agency that has closed the Morogoro Road at the Jangwani area today. Saturday, May 9th, 2024, due to heavy rainfall, which has caused the flooding in various parts of the country, Tanzania, including in Dar es Salaam and the other cities. A public announcement issued by that stated that due to the closure of that area, Buses from Nikimala to Kivukoni and Gerezani will terminate at Magomeni Mapipa. Furthermore, the bus transportation service continues to operate in the city center via Muhimbili and Gerezani and from Kimala to Morocco. Also, bus services in that system are running as usual from Kimara to Mbezi, Kimara to Okibaha, and Kimara to Mulonganzira. This is not the first time the areas has been crossed when heavy rain occurs. It has become a common occurrence that whenever it rains, heavy water accumulates on the roads. And prompting the agency to suspend its services. Thank you for being with us, our dear listeners. This is our international scene as the news in English. My name is Alpha. This is Alpha TV in Uganda. Thank you.
Muraho nitwa Nigena Josiane nkaba nkorera company yitwa MU Insurance ishami rya Nyabugogo. Product dutanga harimo motor insurance, harimo fire insurance, general accident insurance, engineering insurance, mama bonds, marine insurance, money insurance, travel insurance, aviation insurance n'izindi. Twabashishikarizaga rero kutugana dutanga service nziza. Tukaba twari mu kimbere ya Beka mu etage y'uwitwa Jacobo, etage ifatanye na station SP. Ikaze rero ni karibu. MU Insurance ni ya kera imaze igihe iri gukora cyane kuko yahinduye izina. Mbere yitwaga Phoenix Insurance, ubu ngubu yitwa MU Insurance. Ikaze bakiriya beza, murakoze.